the exact thing of travelling Australia was definitely more Wade's thing.
Did you have more experience with caravans, Wade? Or?
No.
No. Okay.
It was important that we kind of got something that was going to be comfortable and set up for touring Australia so that we didn't have to worry about it because we didn't really know what we were doing.
We're not over planners, but you still, when you're in a caravan, you still got to think about, if you're not in a caravan park, where's your cassette?
And our family and friends all thought we were crazy. We just came home, we're like, yep, we're selling everything.
Where are you going to go find a dump point? Where are you going to get water from? Are you going to have enough power? Can you run your generator? There's all these sort of different things.
You'd need a deadline to get the hustle on, otherwise it'll always, I guess, stay as an idea. And
We obviously did this because we wanted to spend more time with our kids.
there's a lot of different ways to do it, and you figure it out as you go.
Wade, I think a life on the road, this kind of adventure that you're having, would be a dream for many Australians. But it started in quite a dark place for you, didn't it?
Yeah.
So Wade, Britt, great to meet you both.
You too.
It's quite unusual, isn't it, that you're staying in one place for any period of time. How long have you been in Perth for?
Perth itself, we've been here for a couple of weeks. We've been in the southwest for almost 3 months now. So I originally grew up in the southwest, so it's nice to come back home.
Yep.
And then to bring my family over and experience it as well. So, but yeah, Perth itself, a couple of weeks.
Okay. So you've been on the road for how long now?
9 months.
9 months.
Yeah.
9 months. After being on the road for 9 months, spending 2 weeks in one place, is there a sense of itchy feet?
Yeah, I was about to say we're itching to keep going, I reckon.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, we've actually been held up for a part on our van. We were supposed to be on the road and probably in Cowbarry by now, but I think given the circumstances of what's happening in WA at the moment, that it's lucky we're not up there.
Yeah.
So I guess we got held up for a good reason. So, but yeah, we're definitely itching, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely last week we were really keen to hit the road again, like being stuck in one place. We'll hold out for the weekend and then see what's next after that.
Well, it's nice to be able to be that philosophical, to go, oh, well, we can hang around a bit
Yeah.
longer. Because you're not on a fixed deadline,
No.
are you? There's no end date to your journey. This is an indefinite road trip.
Yeah, we're very lucky with that. Like, we've met a lot of other families and they'll like lease their house out for a year or they've got to go back to work after a certain time. So it's very nice for us that we can just say, oh, well, like it's a bump in the road, we'll come back to that place next time. Or yeah, we've got no deadlines, which is nice.
Yeah.
There must have been other places along the way that you stayed longer than you'd intended to, or...
Yeah, there's probably been a couple.
We stayed in Darwin quite a while.
We did stay in Darwin.
We had family come and visit, which was nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so we did the family thing and then wanted to do our own thing as well. So, yeah, just sort of made it last a bit longer than we anticipated.
Yeah.
So, but our plans fully changed too, didn't they? When we got to Darwin and then we wanted to cross the Gibb. We got there when we were planning on doing that was around October, and we had met people that had been travelling for a few years and a couple of people that had come the other way and said probably not the best time to travel there, and a few of the stations were shutting down.
Okay.
So we changed our plans to then go down the middle and got to Streaky Bay in South Australia and then along the bottom of Australia. So
Okay. Have you both naturally been spontaneous, or are you adjusting to an unpredictable life on the road?
I think it's been probably up and down. Like, I think by nature we are both pretty yes people. Like, we want to say yes and try spontaneous things and do different things. But I think there was about, 7 years once we'd had our first son where we both said, oh, like to be good parents, we need to have a career and have a house. And that made us be a little bit normal, I guess.
Yeah.
And not be able to jump in without thinking about consequences of things. So it's been
about stability, that you've
Yeah.
got to provide that stable
Yes.
environment for the kids. Like
Yeah.
you're expected to.
And very much like, I think, attaching our identity to having those stable things. So it has been a nice like unlearning of, I can just be spontaneous, the kids will be fine, they'll be resilient and jump in and try new things.
yeah.
It's been nice to see each other be adventurous and learn new things too.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, Wade, I think a life on the road, this kind of adventure that you're having, would be a dream for many Australians. But it started in quite a dark place for you, didn't it?
A few years ago, almost 3 years now, I had a brain tumour, and then after that we just we contemplated, life and what it does and the challenges it gives you. We obviously took the news. We were joking about it before we even got the news that it could have been a brain tumour, and we were having a laugh in the doctor's surgery, and we're like, imagine that. But, then he came and told us, and we were laughing, and he was like, oh, that's not the reaction that I was expecting, and we were just,
That was nervous laughter for sure.
Yeah. But, we at that time, it was like you just picture things, and you say, well, why stick to a life that, everyone thinks is the right thing to do, have a house and all this, when we've always wanted to this is one thing we've kind of wanted to do, and we've had other things happen throughout the year. Britt got pregnant when she was quite young and spent most of her 20s pregnant and, mothering kids. And then my old brother-in-law had passed away from a car accident and stuff, and we just sort of weighed all these things up and was like, let's hit the road, let's do it now. Why not? And
so it was something you'd wanted to do. It was an adventure that you'd wanted to have, but all those serious things, the stable things, got in the way, you think?
Yeah. I would say that actually, the exact thing of travelling Australia was definitely more Wade's thing. So he had mentioned it, and he has done it before on his own, done just the bottom part coming from Perth to Brisbane. And so he had discussed doing it before, but I was a bit more of a princess, and was like, I'm not going to live in a caravan.
Right. You weren't the outdoorsy type, naturally.
Not, on and off. I'm outsidey, not outdoorsy maybe. I like the outdoors, but I wanted to be comfortable. I didn't want to rough it. And so I was always a bit more like, oh no, that's not practical, I don't know. But definitely was keen on other adventures we'd discussed, like going overseas and doing those kind of things. But yes, definitely I think those challenges with Wade's health and having a few road bumps like that kind of made me realise that we want to do it while the kids are young, while they still think we're cool and want to hang out with us.
Yes, it's a short window, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was the thought process, though, from going, I've had this terrible, potentially life-altering news, to let's sell everything, get in the car, and maybe never come back? How did you go from that news to that decision?
Yeah, it was a bit of a jump to obviously choose to do that. But I guess we're both pretty excited, and the more we'd think about it, we initially, when we planned it, we were like, oh, let's just do it for 6 months. And then by the time we sold our home, sold furniture and other things, put our clothes away and, had a storage container, all the things to it, we pushed it out to a year. And then because we didn't want to, if we came back earlier or something, we didn't want to feel like we failed. So we just put an indefinite thing on it. But we're both pretty excited about doing it. And, the excitement's still there when you look at the places that we still want to see and places we want to go back to and see and stuff. So
yeah. I think there probably wasn't either like a direct line between when Wade was unwell and going through his treatment to when we decided. I think obviously that took up all of that year. It was all around recovery and Wade getting better, him being off work. I had big changes in my career then too. And I think after that it was like, okay, he can go back to work now. He was doing a carpentry apprenticeship, so it was important for Wade to finish doing that. And I think, he was well and we were just enjoying him being well and being able to work and stuff again. And then I think we kind of realised, we've learnt this big lesson, and then we've just fallen back into same, driving in traffic every day, not seeing the kids. Yeah, it does.
I've had that experience myself where you have a sort of disruptive moment, some kind of trauma.
Yes.
And you make those decisions to change, but it's harder than you think. Once the kind of moment of trauma or panic is over, you do get pulled back into those rhythms of life, don't you?
Yeah. And then the main decision came, we went away camping. We used to just have a little tent we got on Marketplace, and we'd started kind of just saying, I'm just sick of living, basically what we were doing. And Wade had been increasingly bringing it up. I'm not happy, I really want to think about this, or, we did try and look at moving into a bigger house, and that didn't work. And then we were camping and sitting around and talking about, maybe we could actually make it work. And then just to kind of put the feelers out there, I joined a Facebook group called Caravanning with Kids Australia. It's a very popular group. And we saw a photo of someone in there. Their family was all at Uluru, and I left our campsite and went down to where he was sitting near the lake. And I was like, look at these people. Like, they look so happy. And then we pretty much just decided that weekend, we were like, yeah, let's do it. And our family and friends all thought we were crazy. We just came home, we're like, yep, we're selling everything.
I was going to ask what the response of family and
It was like a
friends
5 months.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone was happy for us.
Our best friends had just bought a van as well, so, and they were in a van and we were in a tent, and we had our other good friends, they were in a caravan as well. So we were kind of like, yeah, let's get rid of this tent. Look, those caravans look pretty comfortable. So, yeah.
Was the caravan important to you, Britt, in coming around with the idea of travelling around?
Absolutely.
A certain level of comfort.
Yeah, definitely. And I think because we'd never been caravanners before, we didn't know, like my friend who had a caravan was telling me about all the specs, and I was like, this is all different language to me. I've got no idea what you're talking about. So, yeah, it was important that we kind of got something that was going to be comfortable and set up for touring Australia, so that we didn't have to worry about it because we didn't really know what we were doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have more experience with caravans, Wade? Or?
No.
No. Okay. Right. So how steep was that learning curve?
Huge.
Yeah, still learning.
Yeah.
Still learning.
Yeah, it's it's very interesting, just learning all different things about caravans, and the caravan we chose, or we ended up buying, was a floor model. So we actually didn't build ours, where normally the people who buy the brand that we've got, they build them and stuff. So
custom.
Yeah.
It sounds like
but we had no idea.
To be made.
Too many decisions.
Yeah, we had no idea what we would put in there and stuff. But now that we've had it for a while, we're like, we'd probably change this, or change a couple of things to it. But most of it's pretty good. So
okay, you feel you made the right decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
You must have had some fears or doubts before heading off, though. I mean, this is a big decision, and obviously your friends and family thought that you were crazy, and I can kind of understand that. I mean, how did you feel on the eve of setting out? What were you worried about?
I think for me it was a little bit of apprehension about, so I have a marketing agency, and keeping that running on the road. I felt quite confident that I could do it because a lot of it's online, as a lot of jobs are now. But I did have a few family members going like, what are you doing? Like, you've just built this business, you're going to throw it all away. And I was like, but I have the internet. Yeah. So there was a little bit of apprehension around that, but that's all been fine. And then I think for me, I was a little bit worried about feeling, claustrophobic in the van and not having my own space when we were all used to, I guess, in our life, like the kids were at school, we were both playing footy. We wouldn't see each other for half the week, like doing our own thing. But yeah, it was for nothing. It's all been fine.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Was there a moment where you nearly didn't go through with it, having come that far?
I don't think so, no.
No, I don't think so.
There was no turning back.
No, we kind of decided and
we committed and just, kept going.
I think the biggest overwhelm probably came just logistically of like selling the house and cleaning the house for sale, packing all our stuff away. That was probably the biggest overwhelming in like preparing for it. Like I had a few nights like crying, going, there's so much to do, but it was never, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. I had a Hilux, and my Hilux didn't have the weight distribution stuff, like payloads and things to take the caravan that we were going to buy.
Okay.
So I ended up having to sell the Hilux and buy a Land Cruiser, and that's been much better.
Well, I imagine the logistics are a big part of it, and still are when you're on the road. I mean, it's Wade, I get the sense that the idea came from you initially, but which of the two of you has driven it in terms of logistics, do you think?
I probably do a little bit more with the planning of where we're going and stuff. I guess I look up places, and then I might give Britt a list and say, here, choose your favourites out of these or something. And then because I do the driving, I look forward and see, where you're going to get fuel from, where's a stop, will I feel tired, how far do I want to drive that day and stuff. There's lots of those sort of logistics to it. And
yeah, I think that kind of swapped when we actually left. Like in the lead up, he was still working in his construction job, and I was at a desk job. So I was very much the one like researching the caravans, calling people, talking to the real estate agent. And then as soon as we've left and I'm the one working, you've been very much the driver of where are we going and where's next and where can we empty the toilet.
Yeah.
Right. So many things that you're not used to thinking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, normally your toilet flushes and you walk away. This one, it follows you around everywhere.
Yeah. And, well, how quick was that process from that moment of decision that you talked about, seeing the photo of Uluru while you're camping, to departure? How long did it take?
From February we decided. We left the last week of June.
Okay.
So 5 months.
Whatever that is, less than that.
Yeah. Less than that, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And in that time, obviously, found a caravan, sold your house, made your job mobile.
Yeah.
There's a lot to pack in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a fair bit to do.
Yeah.
Okay. What were I know you talked about finding a caravan and learning all about caravans, what you need to know. What were the first steps in making it real?
Towing it.
Sorry. Yeah. I think more broadly, what were the first steps in making the journey as the adventure real?
I think definitely if you, like, for example, if someone was planning to do this, I would say a big part of it is actually setting a date when you want to leave by, because that makes it concrete.
You need a deadline.
Yes, you'd need a deadline to get the hustle on. Otherwise, it'll always, I guess, stay as an idea. And I've had friends talk to me like, I've got an idea about doing it. But we really wanted to go before our birthdays. We share a birthday week, the first week of July. And we had been wanting to go to Fiji for my birthday. And we wanted to do it for the typical parent thing of like kids club, swim up bar, avoid our life, avoid our kids, which now I look back, I'm like, that's a bit sad.
Right, so I need a holiday for my life.
Yeah,
a holiday for my family.
A holiday for my life for $10,000. I'm like, crazy. And I think having that deadline in mind, it made us have to make decisions, because we had to pick the real estate agent who was able to sell our house by then, pick the caravan that was going to be available by then, all of those things in motion. And the end of the school term for our eldest son, and just having that date in mind, you can start planning backwards from there.
Right.
All the things you need to do.
Because otherwise, I guess you get immobilised by the number of opportunities, choices, decisions that you could make, the 100 different caravans you could get, all the different routes you could take.
Yes, and I think a lot of people we've seen in the caravan communities do get in their head a lot of, I need to have this amount saved, or I need to have this kind of car or this planned, but there's a lot of different ways to do it, and I think, just jumping in, you figure it out as you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've met a few people on the road who have just committed, and they haven't worried about, they've got a car and they've got a caravan, and they know that it tows and so on, and they've just hit the road and gone, and then other things they've worried about that on the road.
Right.
So but I feel like what you were saying before, you talk to some people and they go, I'd really like to do that, but, I don't know when I could do it, or I don't know this or don't know that. And it's like, well, that's what Britt was saying. You put a date in and you start learning and
just do it.
Commit to it.
Yeah. So birthday week,
yes.
You were on the road for birthday week.
We were.
How did your 30th as experienced compared to the 30th you'd always imagined?
Way better. So, I mean, travelling for 9 months so far rather than a week, way better. For a similar cost, I will say too. Okay. But I think, and this isn't to be, negative to people that like most people live a traditional life, but I think, I spent a lot of my time at home. You're exhausted from work and school and everything. And so the idea of a birthday party is like, I want a break from my kids. I want to unwind. And like you said, it's a break from your life, or like avoiding your own life. And it's been really nice to actually enjoy spending time with our kids. And, we went out for my birthday to dinner, and the night ended with the kids were really into the song We Will Rock You, and so the musician came to the table and we're all doing like the We Will Rock You beat. The whole restaurant's like laughing. It was amazing, and like I wouldn't have had that if I was doing my initial birthday party.
It was in probably one of the smaller towns that we've been in as well.
Yeah.
Right.
1770,
Yeah.
That's great. I've always thought that the kind of life you want ideally is the one you don't need the holiday from.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which sounds very much like the life you guys are leading at the moment.
Yeah.
obviously that comes with some practical considerations, and you have touched on this, but how did you prepare for this financially?
So we're in a really fortunate position that a lot of people do ask questions about is how to fund travel. So, you know, a lot of people will save for it. We did sell our house, but it was important for us that we're not spending through our equity that we made off our house sale, because one day we're probably going to want a house again. And so I'm really lucky in that my job is remote. So basically what I earn will at least cover what we're spending every week. And then some of our house sale did help us finalise the purchase of our caravan, so we did have that. And then Wade's picked up a few little side hustle jobs as well to keep him busy.
Yeah, what are you doing on the road, Wade?
Well, I brought my carpentry tools with me, but they're starting to get some dust on them.
Okay.
Well, you're mostly Mr. Williams. That's important.
Yeah, I'm mostly a school teacher.
Yeah.
Of course. Yes, you're homeschooling.
Yeah, doing the homeschooling. And then a little side quest is I've signed up to a UGC.
Explain that for us. What's UGC?
It is...
Should I handle
Yeah, you explain it better than I
UGC,
do.
Britt?
So basically, I kind of learned about it through my marketing work, and it is user-generated content. So basically, those ads that you see on Facebook and Instagram, someone's got to make them, and it's not usually influencers people want to see. They want to just see normal people. And I found that a lot of the platforms had a lot of women on there that were great and not a lot of male talent. So I was like, I have a male with some spare time.
Some talent. Right.
Yeah, I like talking on camera sometimes, don't I?
Yeah, so it's been a bit of like fishing tackle money for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been doing some fishing content?
Not so much fishing. I've been doing one for a pillow, which has been pretty good.
Is that a travel pillow?
Yeah, it's good for your neck and your shoulders, and yeah.
They're not paying for this
They're not
ad
paying
time.
for it, so I won't say the brand. But yeah, just do some random little videos that, you know, I haven't asked for any. They've all came to me, and I just do them when they've asked, like to do them. And then sometimes some of the products you get to keep, and you send a video back, and you get, I don't know, anywhere between $200 to $700, and sweet.
Nice.
Didn't take me very long to do it.
And it's not something that you would have considered before setting off on this journey?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
There is a lot of cool side hustles that we've met that people do to top up their funds or do a bit of work. So a lot of people will kind of stop and work at pubs or caravan parks, manage those. Online stuff like VAs, social media. There's a lot of opportunities, really.
Yeah.
Think
the same.
it.
That's why I had all my carpentry tools, well, not all of them, but the essentials. That if we stayed in a place long enough, then maybe we'd go look for some work here and there. But being a school teacher and then dad for the rest of the day is hard to find that work for me. So
okay,
it's kind of relying on Britt's work.
All right, we'll come back to the school teaching. But have you found anywhere along the way yet that you would want to stay long enough to pick up a bit of extra work?
I'm pretty open to anywhere, really. I am happy to keep travelling at the moment and sort of keep going. But you started to fall in love with Dunsborough, didn't you?
Yeah, I loved Dunsborough. That was the first place I opened at realestate.com. But then I saw some of the prices and I put it away.
Might have to do a few more videos to get something down there. So,
so Britt, you've been still running your marketing agency.
Yes, yep.
Wade, you've discovered a fantastic talent for generating content. What's your cost of living like on the road? I mean, how does that compare to life back in Brisbane?
I think the big thing is we're not big sticklers for a weekly budget. We follow some Instagram accounts that will do a really interesting breakdown of everything they spend every month, which is quite cool, especially if you're planning. But for us, it really fluctuates. You might be somewhere really remote where your groceries are so expensive and your fuel is $3 a litre in normal times. And other places where you're staying at a free camp, you've done your big bulk shop at Aldi, so you spend nothing for that week. So it really depends. And we don't have any recurring bills like we would have at home. So we used to pay $330 in childcare a week. We used to have body corporate taxes, all of that stuff, tolls to go to work. So we don't have that. So really it fluctuates a lot depending where we are, if we're doing the touristy activities or just laying low.
Okay.
So I do, I've had to learn the bookkeeping and stuff for Britt's business, and
Okay.
then obviously a bit more learning the finances of what goes into our accounts and stuff. I have a bit more of a number idea in my head of how much it's cost us. But
Oh dear.
yeah, but Britt, as what Britt was saying, we don't stick to a budget, but I think like if someone was obviously planning on how much is a lap going to cost them and stuff, I think if you like did it for a year, would be anywhere between probably like 60 to 100K you'd spend.
Okay.
So it's all travel. That's traveling costs, food costs. If you want to do adventures and experience things in different towns, you've got to
Little
wait.
side quests.
Yeah, you got to put those into account. Maintenance on your van, on your car. There's a fair bit of that to think about. So picking up work along the way would definitely help. Helps us that Britt has a business, and anyone that was going to keep doing it, that'd definitely help them. But yeah, I think if you're planning like what to do, then have a week or two where you may be spending a bit more money in a caravan park and things like that, but then look forward and say, all right, where's a free camp I can go to, or where's a farm stay that may be a lower cost stay that you could go to, or if you've got friends in a town somewhere, you go ask if you can park up on their lawn or something, and yeah, it definitely helps with probably evening out the cost over time.
What are the biggest recurring costs? Is it accommodation, places to stay?
Yeah, I think that it's kind of like any form of travelling, I guess. You have budget travellers and luxury travellers, and for us, like there are towns where we would prefer to just stay at a caravan park because of the convenience of having power and water. Whereas if you were on a tighter budget, there's free camps, but then you've got to think about getting your water somewhere and having enough solar and that kind of thing. But I think our accommodation is up there, and when we've done sort of bigger driving stints, we went down the middle of Australia quite quickly, and our fuel in that area was exorbitant.
It was up there.
It was up there.
Okay.
And then, like Wade said, I think having a buffer is quite important for emergency repairs, or, car or caravan servicing can be quite expensive as well. So just having a buffer for those unforeseen things.
What have been some big unexpected costs?
We had a couple of things with the car. That car, they were just minor things, and it was just mechanical issues that needed fixing, but they weren't too major.
Our Darwin service was about 2,000.
Yeah, it was about 2, and then we did a service on the car in Dunsborough, and then our shock absorber blew on the caravan. So it was a couple of things like that, but then I'm like very bad at cars and knowledge and stuff about that.
Okay.
So this trip, I am learning how to be a mechanic at the same time by watching
Right.
YouTube and things. So I'll start hearing a noise and I try and make that noise into YouTube somehow and see if I
Okay.
can work out what it is. But probably just mechanical things were probably the most out of pocket thing that weren't expecting at that time, I guess.
Okay.
But we haven't had really any major issues yet, have we?
Yeah,
Touch wood.
nothing
Yeah,
crazy.
touch wood.
Aside from the caravan, what's an essential bit of gear that perhaps you wouldn't have thought of before you set out on the journey?
Oh, I've got a big one, and I'll tell everyone, especially if you've got kids, is a second cassette, because if you've got 4 people using the one bathroom, it can fill up quite quickly.
Right.
So that buys you a few extra days, which is very nice to have.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We just did make a video, a tap key, but we've also learnt that maybe it's illegal, so maybe I don't know.
Don't
Explain
say
that.
that
What's a
part.
tap key?
A tap key is like a plumber's key for a tap that doesn't have a
Right. I see what you mean.
a little twisty on it. So
Right.
In an emergency, you might
You
need
could.
water.
yeah,
in an emergency.
most councils and most places will let you have them, but there may be the odd occasion where I don't know.
You've needed to borrow some water.
Yeah, and we just figure for some wiki camps, it's okay to use. So.
Okay. All right. We'll get the legal department.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if we
might
can
have to
join
do
that or
that.
not.
So,
Tap key.
but tools, definitely have a set of tools with you. A couple of drills, definitely handy. Anything to do with chopping timber, So whether you want to bring a saw, a hand saw, or whatever it is that you need, just for, if you go off grid and there's branches in the way or something that might need moving, then you've got something handy there.
And then I think another big thing that was important for us was sort of a purchase, sort of a course, was doing a first aid course. So we made sure we both had first aid CPR, and then we've got a big first aid kit in the car, the caravan, the backpack, because sometimes we're very remote, so we want to make sure if something happened to the kids that we were all over it.
Yeah.
I can imagine as parents that's a major concern, because we've all had the kids with the high fever, and it's do I take them to hospital?
Yeah.
Been on the phone to the nurse. How do you do that if you're in the middle of nowhere? There must be some panicky moments along the way.
Yeah, we've probably been lucky enough. We haven't had too many. Yeah,
again, touch wood again. Yeah.
That we haven't really had any major emergencies with our kids or with us.
Yeah, when we did our first aid course, the instructor did say the main one we'll use with two boys is grazes and abrasions, and that was very true. We've gone through a lot of Band-Aids.
Yeah,
good.
But the good thing is when you're not in school and you're not in the office, no one's gotten sick. So there's not so much fever and cold respiratory kind of things because no one's getting germy, which is
you're
nice.
out in the open air and the nice atmosphere and stuff. So
excellent.
You used your first aid kit on
a lot of other people's kids.
Yeah.
All right. You've been able to pass it on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, a couple of kids bang their heads on the pools and stuff. And
a few split heads.
Ran to get the bag that's got a first aid kit in it and helped out. So, it's very handy to have.
That's a great idea. I imagine it brings a level of reassurance.
Yeah.
But bumps and grazes aside, what does a typical day look like now for you guys?
Yeah, so at the moment, with it being sort of like a school week and stuff, we'll get up. Britt's work starts 9 o'clock Brisbane time. So in WA at the moment, she's up at 7 or before 7.
Yeah,
but
before
then
7.
Starting work roughly at 7. And then the kids and I will get up and do our breakfast stuff, and then we'll try and do so it's 3 subjects normally in the morning. We'll be 2 main ones every day is the maths and English, and then 1 special subject, whether it's science, PE, geography, a few different ones, and then spend probably 3 hours doing that, depending on how they're going. So just sort of weigh it up whether they've got a good attention span that day or not. We spend about 45 minutes doing the schoolwork, and then a 10 to 15 minute break, and then do the next subject and so on. Finish probably roughly lunchtime, and kids are then free to go do whatever they want, go and explore around wherever we're staying, or go play with the other kids that are out and about. It's definitely finding that there's a lot more families on the road than I was expecting. I didn't realise how many families are actually doing this on the road. And
so have you met many other families doing what you're doing, the indefinite road trip?
Not too many, the indefinite one, but a lot that are doing a lap. And
usually within a year time frame, but the kids are always meeting other little kids running around in gangs.
That's great.
And there's this, you see, other families are doing their schoolwork or stuff, or maybe the kids have got an exemption for that year or something, so they're just out and about riding their bikes nice and early. And
so you didn't get an exemption for your kids. You were keen for them to continue learning.
So we went through a legal exemption for the first 6 months for our eldest. He was already in school. So because we didn't know how long we would be gone, we just took him out of school with the principals and did informal homeschooling, a lot of just journal keeping, maps, museums, that kind of thing. And then for the start of this school year, we had to legally enroll Nixon. He's in year 3, and Thomas was starting prep. So, they've gone through the formal homeschooling process in Queensland. And then we've purchased, this is optional, but we've purchased a program that does deliver to you what to teach them every week. So that just takes out the thinking. We just have to teach the curriculum, which is great.
That works for me, because I tried teaching and thinking about what subjects need to be done in that exemption part.
Yeah.
And I struggled because Like I wasn't a school.
I was going to ask you, called yourself a school teacher, and having had a bit of experience homeschooling again during COVID, I know it can be a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you finding that, becoming the
it's
full-time
definitely
teacher?
challenging.
Yeah.
It's
Respect to all teachers.
Just because Nixon is very energetic. He's up and about all the time, and Thomas is still at a young age in that prep. So you're trying to teach two different age groups at the same time, and to keep them both, locked in and trying to learn what they're learning at that time. And it's very, very challenging. And I didn't pay a lot of attention when I was at school and stuff. I found school quite boring. So
yeah.
Now I'm teaching it. So yeah,
you're trying to make sure it's not boring.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I feel sorry for all those teachers that I used to. I don't know.
So there's a bit of karma coming back to you.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they'll be laughing at me. So.
Yeah.
But I do think you've grown a lot in having to do that role. I feel like I've been very proud watching him. He always said I'm not very into school or reading, that kind of thing. But you've definitely stepped up to the plate. I think you're doing a good job. It's not easy. Yeah.
You said, Britt, you said early on that you were worried about all being cooped up in the caravan together. I mean, how have you adjusted to that? How have you adjusted to that confinement compared to life at home?
That is just a daily up and down. I think when you said before, what's a typical day look like on the road for us, it very much depends on where we are and what we're doing. Right. We actually haven't hit a lot of bad weather yet, so we're a little bit apprehensive of how we're all going to survive in the rain for 3 days. But, we'll have days where we're out exploring and doing things and, posting online, everyone going, oh, life looks great. And then other days where, Wade is having a difficult time trying to keep two different age groups doing their homeschool. I'm trying to be on a meeting. Everyone's interrupting me. It's a bit chaotic sometimes.
It can get, a little bit frustrating and stuff. But it's one of those things you just adapt to and you learn with. And, we obviously do this because we wanted to spend more time with our kids.
Yeah. But there must be days where you're going, why did we want to spend more time with these kids?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's sometimes I find it a little bit extra challenging because I'm doing the teaching and then trying to keep them out of Britt's hair while she works.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of I feel like I haven't had a break yet and is keep going. But it's obviously Britt's trying to run a business at the same time. So we do our best to try and stay out of the van if we can. And if it's a windy day, then we just can school and tell the kids to go for a ride somewhere. And I've found that
kids and wind
do not mix.
No.
Is that right?
May as well just can that day and we'll catch up on it on a less windier day.
Well, it's nice to have that flexibility, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. So what's been harder than people might expect about life on the road in a caravan?
Just probably the planning. We're not over planners, but you still, when you're in a caravan, you still got to think about, if you're not in a caravan park, where's your cassette? Where are you going to go find a dump point? Where are you going to get water from? Are you going to have enough power? Can you run your generator? There's all these sort of different things. It's like where's the next fuel station if you're out in the outback? How far until your next fuel station?
Yeah.
Just sort of that sort of planning, I think.
Those little logistical things. Yeah. I think it's if you've had one of those days where it has been a little chaotic, you're a bit on edge already.
Yeah.
And then you've got a logistical thing that you run into, you go to have a shower and there's no water, or the toilet's full or something like that. It can just tip you over the edge if you're already
I can imagine. Because on those difficult days, when you're living at home, you can kind of retreat.
Yes, go have a really long shower.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't get that.
These ones you just have to go for a 10-minute walk and look at the stars or look at the beach or whatever it is. And
that doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah. Brings you back down to level. And
Yeah.
What's been harder? What's been easier than you might have expected?
I think in general, it was easier to adapt to life in the caravan than I was expecting. I think we moved in because we'd already sold our house, we moved in the day we picked up the caravan, and the kids were right at home from then. They slept through the night fine in their bunk beds.
Wow.
Like, we've all just felt really at home in the caravan. And we actually flew home to Queensland recently for a family's birthday and came back and we're like, oh, it's coming home. Like, it had that nice feeling, and I don't think I would have expected that.
No.
So that's been really nice.
Yeah, we did wonder when we flew back to Queensland, would we like miss that of the where we were living, or just that whole city vibe and stuff. And we drove past our old townhouse that we were living in.
Yep.
And next door there's a big field with 12 cricket ovals next to it with trees that go around the outside. And as we were driving past, Britt looked over and was like, gee, I can't believe I used to go over there for my like nature walk and think that was part of being nature. And it's like these old trees that just look like they're sad, and then you go out to the trees in,
anywhere
else. Yeah, and they're just all lush and they smell nicer and the clean air and stuff. So just those sort of things it's definitely getting back to the van. It feels like a home. So it's quite nice.
Because I did wonder how the kids would have adapted, because I know it can be a big thing for kids to leave a home, particularly if it's one they've spent their lives in.
Yeah.
To then move into a caravan is well, I imagine it's exciting in some ways, but disruptive in others. But you feel they've adapted well to life on the road.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're loving it.
Kids in general are quite adaptable, really. And you see it everywhere we've gone. Like, they're meeting other friends everywhere. They've both become very confident in themselves, like going up and talking to people or ordering at a cafe, or even our eldest has become a lot more comfortable in his body, like, because, a lot of kids in the city don't play outside a lot. He was too nervous to jump from rock to rock, like in a creek bed. And now, you can't get them down from trees. They're climbing up everything. It's awesome. It's like a lot more like an old school upbringing, which is nice.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, we still have the iPad and stuff there for, they need to watch a movie for a little bit. But,
sure.
Yeah, compared to the days of, we'd get home from work and put the TV on and they'd sit there and watch the TV while we make dinner and make their dinner and then put them to bed. Like, now they're out and about and, riding their bikes and having fun. So
it's interesting because I think this is something that modern parents think about a lot, which is how can I provide that environment for the kids that they can have the sort of childhood that we had, that they can be outdoors more, they can go exploring, and it feels like a more dangerous world, and that really you'd be judged as a parent for letting them have that that freedom. But you guys have found a really innovative solution to that, a way to keep them outdoors.
Yeah, no, it's been really good.
What's been the biggest challenge for them, do you think, for the kids?
Keeping to their schoolwork.
Dealing with the teacher.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Williams is cranky today. Oh, right. I don't know. They're how they gel together, their behaviours together, I think has sometimes been challenging. I think I probably found it a bit challenging, and then have had to work out the best way to talk to them, and as I was saying before, you spend so much time with them, and then it's like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? And then they start giving you back chat and all these other things and fighting each other, and you're like, so dealing with those sort of things, it's like, oh, try and find the best way to talk to them, and keep yourself calm as. Well,
it's tricky when you're having to be those multiple roles, isn't it? You have to be the teacher and the parent and also, a play partner in some ways. Imagine when you're going on these adventures. It's hard to be all those things.
Yeah, and I think, getting them to understand, I know it's Dad, but right now he's your teacher and you need to sit and listen to him, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then I think their relationship together, it's kind of like any brother's relationship, but just on steroids. It's like they've only got each other as their consistent friend. So they've become great buddies, but then, they'll turn around 2 seconds later and whack each other. It's just managing that, getting a bit sick of each other. But
bury each other's head in the dirt and they're playing footy and stuff.
That's typical boy stuff, I think.
Yeah, I think that's just probably having kids.
Siblings, yes. So that's the challenge. But what's been the payoff for them? What do you think's been most rewarding from their perspective?
I think just everything they get to learn and experience. Even our curriculum we've received for school, we've decided we're going to cut geography and do our own, because like there's so many places they've gone where they've actually, you know, seen Uluru, or they've completely surprised us going on some really big hikes, like around the Northern Territory, and remembering all these facts about crocodiles. Like they're really curious about everything. So it's been really lovely to see them learn on the road. And then just, I think that confidence that they've grown has been really cool to watch as well.
Yeah, it's gone through the roof. Like we'd pull up in places in Brisbane, and you know, kids would be playing in the park, and they'd probably just sit there and look at them and be like, "Oh, that'd be fun to do that," because Nixon, he really loves cricket and things like that and football. And now we'll pull up somewhere and he bounces out the car. "Can I go see if I can go play cricket?" "Yeah, go for it." And he runs over. "Can I play cricket?" And they all just like, "Yeah, cool." Jumps in, doesn't care if there's 10 kids playing or 2 kids playing. He'll go and ask them.
Or our youngest, he's taken it to the other extreme. He started walking around and goes, "How old are you? How old are you? I want to play with you."
Yeah.
Just like aggressively friendly.
Yeah, or talking to the neighbours in caravan parks and stuff, or in those areas, you know, you obviously keep your eye on them because you want to make sure they are in a safe place. Sure. But by the time we've finished maybe setting up and you go over to say hello, that neighbour knows my name, knows Britt's name, knows how old we are, knows that I grew up in WA,
right?
Knows what we do for work.
And they're calling her like Nana Karen or something.
Yeah,
like they've got new grandma.
Yeah, we're calling them grandma or something.
All right, so they're making friends for you as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, if we see cool parents, we're like, go say hi to their kids.
Go talk to them, Oh, they got a big boat. See if you can play with them. Yeah. The only thing they don't have is our credit card numbers, I think. Yeah. Just lucky.
You can see the impact it's had on the kids and you as a family. Or maybe how has this journey changed the relationship for you two, changed you as a couple, do you think?
I feel like it's gotten us a lot, like our bond a lot stronger. Mm-hmm. We've always kind of had a pretty strong bond with each other. I think just going through the different things in life and, you know, having each other's back, and, you know, if something's gone wrong in Britt's world, whether it was something to do with work or whatever it is, and I've always told her that I'll have her back, and, you know, it doesn't matter what it is. And then obviously I've gone through my stuff, and Britt's always been there to support me and help me. And but yeah, I guess travelling with each other and spending so much time, we laughed about it before we left, of like when was going to be our first big blow up and argument with each other. Mm-hmm. And we went 4 or 5 months before an actual proper...
What did we fight about? I don't remember having a fight.
Well, I don't really remember either. But no, like not even like a proper like an argument that you know that you generally see in couples. But
first moment of tension.
Yeah. Yes, sure. Yeah, if we don't remember it, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I remember we said, we had a little argument, and it was like 4 or 5 months. Can't even remember what it was about. Yeah. But it was around that 4-month mark, and it was like, oh, that's pretty good. And then like we've gone, you know, another 4 or 5 months since then, and yeah, we've always just support each other no matter what it is. We talk to each other about different things.
I do think it's like we always comment that it would be like great marriage therapy, because I think it's really nice to grow together by like having shared common interests. So we're always like, you know, learning about the caravan together, or we've been playing tennis, which we would have never done at home. So that's probably what we fought over, because I got cranky when you won.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm not allowed to.
He's not allowed to overhand serve.
Not allowed to overhand serve or hit it hard.
Yeah.
All right.
I think just having time to like have hobbies together is nice. When you're like parents together at home, we've never had family close, so you know we weren't going to go get babysitters. So I would go out on a girls' night and he would go out on a boys' night. You know,
do things separately, don't you?
Yeah, and so it's been nice for that. And I think having an attitude of like, you know, if there is a tense moment, we're not mad at each other, we're mad at the situation.
Oh, that's
and
good.
then
I like that.
we watched this like comedy show, and it's just like, I don't know, backstory, but there was a bit of like a funny like shrug, like, what are you going to do about it? So anytime something goes wrong, we just look at each other and we're like, well, what are you going to do about it? And it just breaks the tension.
The shared family language.
Yeah, it's great. Makes you laugh.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you've gone through all the testing things, you know, selling your house,
Yes.
going travelling, hitting the road. These are the big kind of points of tension in a lot of relationships. But it sounds like it's been a bonding experience.
Yeah, 100%.
If you're not sure if you've married the right person, take them for a lap around Australia, and by the time you finish, you'll either know you.
It seems like an expensive test.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It probably works though. I don't know.
Can you each identify something you've learned about each other that you didn't know before you set out on the road? I think that Britt can.
Yes. So our friends have kind of asked us that. Like all our friends at home are like, oh, are you sick of each other yet? Are you over each other? And we're like, no, we're not. But it is quite different when you are used to, like we always used to say at home, we could never work together. Like we know other couples at work, so we're like, no, we couldn't do that. But just being together all day, you notice things that you didn't notice before. Like I was getting really cross in the first month about the sound of him drinking a cup of tea. And then recently he said to me, I've never seen you eat a banana before. And I'm like, what do you mean? I always eat bananas. He's like, I've never seen you eat a banana. And it's just being around each other all the time. You notice little things that they do, which is funny.
I also didn't know that Britt knew how to crack a whip. Like an actual whip, not crack the whip, but actually crack a whip.
Where did you pick that skill up?
In Darwin at the markets with mixed whippy whips. So that's a new hobby.
So I ended up buying her one for Christmas because we were in Darwin prior to Christmas.
Okay.
So and then we were going to be in Dunsborough for Christmas. So I got one sent down there, and then since Christmas she's been cracking the whip. Not like mine,
not
but
just metaphorically.
Yeah.
Okay. Has it come in handy?
I think it'll be more in handy as we keep going north. We've been a bit in populated areas, so I don't think that would be very considerate of me to be cracking my whip. Yeah.
Quite noisy.
I can imagine. Britt, I just want to come back to the fact that for your 30th you had this sort of pampered vision of what life would be like. I mean, if that's at all important to you, feeling pampered now and then, where are you getting that from on the road?
Pampering for me at the moment, and this might scare people off wanting to do it, but is like going to a caravan park where I can have a shower for as long as I want. That's very exciting. So good. Yes. And when we went to Queensland recently, I went for a pedicure, also very exciting. Okay. But other than that, it is honestly very low maintenance living, a lot of dry shampoo.
I've dyed your hair twice.
Oh, you did dye my hair, actually.
Oh, how did he do?
It went really red.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of. Like, it wasn't my fault.
That wasn't your fault. You did a good job.
Like, I did the right thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it was the chemicals at fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, there's not a lot of pampering, but I will say it is very nice having Wade home because he's always had a job where he was out the door before the sun came up. So I always did breakfast and getting ready by myself with the kids. And so pretty much everywhere we've been, if I felt safe in that area, I've gone for a morning walk. And like that for me is a really nice treat because I never had that before. Yeah.
What about you, Wade? How do you get pampered?
Sure, yeah.
You play Monopoly on your phone.
Yeah, I found a couple of phone games on my phone that I do at night time and just relax. I've actually got my golf clubs in the van. So, Britt originally told me that I wasn't to take them, but as soon as we got the van, I hid them in the tunnel there and then put things around them and surprised them. I was like, "Hey, want to go play golf? I've got golf clubs."
Yeah.
So I like to do that when I can.
Okay. Best course you found so far?
Best one. There's a couple in Queensland that...
Yeah, the one on your birthday when you're on the ocean.
Yeah, it was so good I can't remember the name of it. But
I think it was in Elliot Heads.
Yeah, in Elliot Heads there. It goes by the ocean and stuff. It was pretty cool. We played along the Nullarbor. The Nullabor's got a standard 72 hole, 72 par course.
Okay.
Along the Nullarbor. It's very interesting to play on because some of it's on the road and gravel and
not a lot of grass.
No, it's very challenging. Yeah. And then just south in Bremer Bay, and there's probably not the greatest course, but the scenery and stuff was awesome. I just spent a few hours just wandering around, hitting those. So I guess that's a little bit of my pampering, I guess. So.
And fishing. Been doing some fishing.
Yeah, fishing, but I don't really catch a lot, so.
Yeah.
I feel there's some content opportunities for you here, Wade. You're kind of guide to the golf courses of Australia.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
doing a
Yeah,
tour.
I did think about that.
Yeah,
But I might have to start thinking
Not
about
too late.
that. Have to get to more golf courses.
Yeah, it makes it easier to justify too.
Yeah.
Go spend the day out there.
Yeah, exactly. I've been teaching all day, and then you go play some golf.
Golf courses aside, what's been the toughest day on the road so far?
The one that comes to mind first, and mind you, it's not even that bad. Like, we've heard other families that have had much worse stories of caravan breakdowns or crashes, that kind of thing. For us, it was when we were in Devil's Marbles, which is just north of Alice Springs, and they had one of the most severe storms they'd had in a long time there. And we were out in a national park, and we were just hammered all night by this storm, and woke up in the morning. I had a meeting starting in like half an hour, and the van was completely out of power. And so we were like, well, I guess we're going to quickly jump in the car and go somewhere we can run the generator. And it was a bit chaotic.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd pull up down the road and run the Jenny and keep going. But yeah, like as Britt says, we hadn't had any real major tough days. There's been a couple where, especially when we first left, and it's all about learning that sometimes the fridge door doesn't stay shut.
Oh, yeah.
And pull over to get some water or some fuel and check the van, and you walk in and there's beetroot juice everywhere all over the caravan.
All right,
like,
so there was a note in the notes I was given that was about beetroot. Is this what that's referring to?
Probably, yeah.
probably
But we
so,
had another
yeah.
day too, I think, from the corrugations, the pizza sauce. I opened that and it hit every surface of the
Exploded,
whole
yeah.
caravan, and it was nighttime. We had to wash all the bedding, all my clothes. There was pizza sauce everywhere. That was bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the beer I had been drinking a lot of the time just came in a bottle rather than a can.
Oh yeah.
We went over the corrugations and it broke some of my beers. So when I went to go grab one, they were
That's a
broken
tragedy.
out. It was.
Yeah.
It was a tough day. It was a very tough day.
Never mind the pizza sauce.
Yeah, I know.
It's no beer.
Yeah, no beer.
Have there been moments where you've questioned your decision to set out on the road?
Never.
Never?
No, I don't think we've ever really questioned it. We've had moments where we've missed our friends and stuff, like our, friend base that, that we had in Brisbane and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the people you meet on the road they're like-minded, and you somehow you always run into like the same people. Like,
is that right?
You just like travel the same direction or something, but you could be 3 hours up the road and you pull in, hey, I know you. Like, yeah, it's pretty cool, and a lot of, just because you're like-minded, like you're going around in a caravan and around Australia, and you like to relax and do things, and have good conversations with those people, and they ask good questions and stuff. Like, yeah, it's really
I think
nice
it takes
to
away
have,
that surface level of socialising. Like, in the city, it would be like you're seeing the same people at a footy club or a networking event, and you kind of just, small talk.
Yeah.
A lot of couples and families we've met on the road, you'll be sitting around the fire the first night, and everyone gets to the deep dark, like, tell me your biggest secrets. It's so nice.
When you move yourself from your sort of natural habitat, you are more open to those sort of conversations, I think.
Yeah,
Sort
absolutely.
of connections.
Yeah.
And everyone's open to just going and saying, like, hi, where are you from?
Yeah.
It's not weird. Whereas I think if I went up to someone in Brisbane, like at daycare drop-off or something, where are you from? They'd be like, why are you talking to me?
Yeah. I'm just trying to get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And in terms of that community, I mean, obviously you've met lots of people on the road, but there's a strong online community as well. I know you mentioned a Facebook group before.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a few good Facebook groups we're in. The brand of caravan we have has a group, which is a really nice community. I know that a lot of brands do that. And then, on our own social media as well, we get a lot of people that we've kind of met, but we've never actually met them yet. And we'll message each other back and forth, or someone we have been messaging's up where the cyclone's going to hit. We're like, stay safe, keep us updated, and giving each other advice, which is really cool.
And then you finally run into some people that you've been messaging through social media, and then it's like, oh, how's it going? And
Yeah.
they feel like they're a good friend because
Yeah.
you've been talking to them for.
You've already got that intense connection.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you just ask questions that you're interested in as well. Like, I guess because you're both doing the similar journey and stuff. And
It's funny you say questions, because I think that's what most people are afraid of in conversation. They are afraid of actually asking questions, because you don't want to ask a question that makes you look like you don't know what you're talking about, or that it's asking too much of the other person. But once you're out of your normal life, I think it is easier, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've found a lot of families that have chosen to do a lap or travel indefinitely has been for like a big reason, like ours was. There's not many people go, oh, I just wanted to. Like a lot of people it'll be like a health scare or a job thing or whatever. And we've had I get goosebumps every time I think about her. Like there's a woman I met who had a very similar story of a health scare. And Wade got home from emptying the bins. I'd met this woman 20 minutes earlier. We're hugging, crying. Like you get really deep really quick, because there's probably a reason they're doing something a bit different to everyone else, which is nice.
And then some people are just travelling because that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
See the world.
Yeah.
Well, I guess on that note, what are the destinations that have stood out for you?
Yeah, we get asked this question a lot. Like, if
I imagine, but do you
people
find
say
you can't remember because you've gone? You're moving on to the next place, or?
When we first left, we were going up the Queensland coast, going north. We met these two families that were from Mandurah, and so they're on the other side of the country, and we had this similar conversation about what's your favourite place and what's this, and they were like, oh, can't really remember. I can't remember this, can't remember that, and I guess because we had just sort of left, we were like, how do you not remember? Like, we remember every single place that we've been to and what it looked like, what the world was like, and everything. And now people ask us now, and we're like,
We'll ask each other, what was the place with the thing that we liked?
Right.
Yeah, finally you get to it. But when people ask, like, what's your favourite place, I generally try and choose maybe 1 to 2 places from each state that we've been in. And for myself, I generally pick a place called Notch Point in Queensland. Okay. It's about an hour and a half south of Mackay. Can only get in there with a 4-wheel drive and a half decent van to get in, or if you just got a 4-wheel drive, and then you go through. You got a couple of little water crossings, and then it's a big hill to get over, which like the van is like almost sideways. So you feel like you're going to roll down the hill, but then you get to the other side, and it's just this nice green grass, coconut trees, the ocean, like it's inside crocodile territory, but it's not known for heaps of crocodiles. So you got to be careful, obviously, with the water. Mm-hmm. But you're still raised up. And while we were there, we had whales going past. It was awesome. Like a coconut, you'd knock coconuts down and...
A little bit of paradise.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, I did enjoy that one.
Yeah, we didn't want to leave there. And I always say I loved Northern Territory. Like, before we left, I was so excited for that because it's so different, and it completely exceeded all my expectations. Like Kakadu and going down to Uluru was just spectacular. We really loved it there. So, we'll hopefully get back there soon.
Anything with a crocodile, I'm so intrigued at, because I just, grew up in a completely different environment.
Right.
And when you go through the northern parts of Australia, obviously, you want to keep your distance and be safe, but just looking at them, they're so fascinating, and they look so fake. Yeah, but they're so big and huge, and you're like...
Little dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of experiences is pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah. And Uluru was huge, way bigger than what I thought it was going to look like, so...
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We talked about the impact of the journey on you as a family, but do you think that when it's over, when you return to your normal life, that the things you value, the things that you prioritise will have changed?
I think definitely. So we've already sort of had these discussions, much to some of our best friends' heartache, but we definitely don't feel like we would live right in a city anymore. We'd definitely become accustomed to a slower pace, more outside area. So definitely that's going to change. And I just think having all these shared experiences with each other and with the kids is such a strong foundation. When I was 11, my family and I lived overseas for a year, and going into our teenage years, we always say that, like, we really think that that strengthened us, where we became kind of friends as well as parent-child relationship, because you have all these shared hilarious memories, and because you've gotten so close, you're happy to, you know, tell them about things. And that's what we're really hoping will come out of this from, like, us and our kids' perspective.
Yeah, I think Nixon's definitely going to remember. He's a little bit older. He's almost 8, so he'll definitely remember probably most of travelling. But Thomas, being 5, made, you know, hopefully remembers lots of it. But who knows when he gets a bit older. Yeah, definitely it has a great experience. But yeah, I think our values and stuff are definitely changing of what we want.
Yeah. What's one way that you see your values or priorities of having changed?
Yeah, just a bit slower and relaxed, being there for each other, bonding together, and just not being so rushed. Like it just feels when you go to a city, and you know, obviously this is how we used to live too, but you just feel like everything's in a rush. You got to quickly be there. You got to quickly be there. Or when you're driving down the freeway, you got someone right in front of you, cutting in front of you, and has to be there. Got to get there. And you know, it was happened on the way here, and we're driving, and they only beat you by 5 seconds for all that rushing.
Yeah.
But you catch up to them at the set of lights, and it's like, what was the point of that? Like,
unnecessary stress.
Yeah.
It's so true, and I think it's such a trap for parents that your life does end up so heavily scheduled. You are just running from, you know, how many parents joke about being Uber drivers, you know, for the kids, running from one thing to the other. To find that space or to value that space is hard, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think the kids are going to get to that age where they'll want to be doing footy and those kind of activities, and we'd never want to deprive them of that. But I think we've definitely got a bigger value now in family time and slowing down. And we've talked about, you know, career-wise, what could we do when we get back to reality, if we do, that, you know, would still allow Wade to be there in the mornings, not up before the sunrise, because it's become a really nice part of our day.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be cool to obviously go to school events, whatever that's happening at school or things like that, to be there rather than, you know.
Just not teaching.
Yeah. Well, I'll have a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Empathy.
A lot more empathy, respect for the teachers that are, you know, they got usually 20 kids or something that they're doing, so, yeah.
What's one thing you would say to other families that might be dreaming of doing this?
Just commit to it. Like, just, you got to, as I said earlier, like, you got to set a date and do it. Don't be too stressed that, you know, you don't have the right things, you don't have the right finances, you don't have the right whatever it is. You know, you can obviously plan in advance, but yeah, give yourself a date, commit to it, and then hit the road, and you'll learn, like, things as you go. It's kind of like having a kid. But, like, if you plan to have the right, you know, got to have this, got to have that, got to have all the things right and set in place to have your kid. But, you know, once you have a kid, that all goes out the window, and you learn as you go.
That's true.
So it's
Definitely.
that's how I say it anyway.
I think we're in like a time, obviously, with a lot of social media and YouTube, and I think a lot of families get caught up in, you know, you see these families with like the amazing rig and the perfect setup, and there's a million different ways that you can do it. So I think if it's something you're wanting to do, like, it's always going to be worth it. Like, I always tell people, like, just do it. And I think, you know, like we said before, you can pick up stuff as you go on the road. You can pick up work. There's shops everywhere, so like, you don't have to have bought everything before you go. There's Bunnings on every corner. You know, it's like learning a language by going to the country. You dive in and you just do it and you learn. And I think especially like kids are young for such a small window. You know, if you've got the opportunity to do it now while you can, and if you're healthy, absolutely do it.
And if you're ever worried about, you know, a financial way, go talk to a caretaker at wherever it is, whether caravan park or, a farm stay or whatever, and say, look, where can I help? I want to earn this, or you give them something, they will generally give you something back, whether it's free accommodation or a cheaper rate or something.
Right.
But don't be afraid to go and say, oh, go get your hands dirty for a little bit, and then enjoy what's around, because you do a couple of days work and then you get to see all the waterfalls or the nice beaches or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think that's something I think too, when you meet people that have, had a huge savings account to do it and they're not working. Sometimes I think, oh man, it'd be nice to just chill out all day.
Yeah.
But then, even if I've had a really busy work day, I'm still getting to go and look at the sunset over the ocean, something beautiful, or I get my morning walk. Like, it's still going to be nicer than being in the city in my office.
And again, it's not you taking a break from your life. It's this is your life.
Yes.
This is the life that you want to be living.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we did meet this one. I remember this one family we met. They were from South Australia, and they had given themselves, it was like 4 months, I think, between 4 and 6 months, and they drove like 8 hours to get to somewhere, and then stopped overnight. Then drove another 8 hours to get to like northern parts of Queensland, like a few stints of 8 hours in a row. Finally got up there, and they did like this loop of going back down, and then they had gotten back, and then they went for another drive, and they went sort of different ways. I remember meeting them, and they were like, yeah, we're just on our second stint, but this one's just like a little bit shorter, but they're just seeing different parts.
Mm-hmm.
So they just do this sort of loops of going up and down back to South Australia. So yeah, I think you don't have to always just be like, oh, I'm going for a year, I'm going indefinitely. You can just go for as long as you want and then come back.
One thing you said, and this is probably a nice way to finish our conversation, you said that you meet a lot of people who've had a moment of disruption, like you guys had, that moment of perhaps trauma of life, taking a bit of a detour. Do you think you'd be on this journey now if that hadn't happened?
It's hard to say.
Yeah,
yes,
good question.
There's always flow-on effect of everything. I don't think we probably would have the perspective that we do. And I think as much as, and I mean, I'm speaking from my perspective, you might completely disagree because you were the person that got your head cut open. But I think looking at it in a positive way, we are lucky that we've been through something like that at a young age. A lot of people don't go through that until they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s and learn that lesson. And I think it has been nice for us to take that lesson that you're not guaranteed your health or anything, and, take chances if you want to do them, start a business or go and do these travelling adventures you want to do, because it's not guaranteed. So...
Yeah.
Would you agree, or does it not outweigh this?
No, I think potentially, yeah. I feel like there's probably a bit more like spiritual or whatever, but you're generally going to go along a path that you're meant to go on. And if there's a sign there, something that is in front of you that says, you've been thinking about, oh, I'd love to go on a trip around Australia, I'd love to do this, and something will tell you to go and do it. So whether it's, go through a brain tumour and get your head cut open or whatever it is is your sign, or if it's someone's watching this podcast and is like, oh, maybe I should just go and do it. Like, there's obviously going to be a sign out there that's telling you to do it. You've been thinking about it, then, that's probably the right path that's going to push you down and send you on your way. So
you just need to be open to reading the signs.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they're not right in front of you, and sometimes they are. So, yeah.
Britt, Wade, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for tuning in. If you liked this episode, let us know and share it with a friend. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next episode of RAC's Horizons podcast.